Hey everybody, it's Tim and Steve from Phantom History House. How you doing, Steve?
I'm good. Happy to be here again on a Wednesday night with another one of our Phantom History House calls.
And tonight we're talking about unconventional couples and how very smart wedding planners that we know how they deal with those and make their day special.
Yes, exactly. We've all been to a traditional wedding, and we know how it goes, we know how it looks, but there is an unconventional twist now that is getting popularity with unconventional couples and offbeat couples, which I've heard them called as well. And since we are an offbeat and unconventional location, this works out really well for us.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's our topic tonight, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to Phantom History House Calls. Okay, so before we bring in Amber and Tina from Simple Weddings, we wanted to talk a little bit about what's going on here at Phantom History House. We had a great event last weekend. We had a seance and some readings.
We did. We had Mama Kowalski was here. She was doing some readings in our library, then had a seance in our dining room, which was a success. We saw some new faces and some familiar faces, which is always a lot of fun. And if you missed it this time around, you have another chance to join us for the seance and for readings with Mama on June the 7th.
That's right. Friday night, June 7th is the last one before the spooky season in the fall. So if you want to do that, hope that you will do that. And also, we're going to be live out there in the world Memorial Day weekend on May 25th. We are going to be in St. Pete at a intuitive fair.
Yes, it is at the Harmony House, which is a new location that is kind of like an artist's collaborative space. And for that weekend, they're turning into the Mystic House. And we are going to have a booth there promoting Phantom History House. And there's going to be all kinds of readers, tarot card readers, crystals, intuitive folks. It's going to be a lot of fun.
So put that on your calendar. And there's tons of great stuff coming up around weddings and wedding events that we will be involved in over the summer. So make sure you sign up for our newsletter and keep paying attention to all the social media. Steve, you're doing such a great job with the social media.
Thank you. It's been a lot of fun. I have some new toys that I'm playing with on social media as well. And speaking of the newsletter, it did go out today. We are keeping the calendar as up to date as we can. So if you are not signed up, you can do that at phantomhistoryhouse.com and just log in, give us your email, and you'll start receiving them every Wednesday.
All right. You ready to start talking?
I'm ready.
Okay. Everybody, we're going to bring in right now Amber and Tina from Simple Weddings. Let's bring them in. Hey, guys, how are you?
Hello. How are you guys?
So Amber Jax is from Simple Weddings, and Tina Luciana. Thank you guys so much for being here. We're so happy that you're here. We got connected with you guys, through a friend of Tina's, right?
Yeah, yes. who was here to take photos for a news article we appeared in. So small world. I love it when it all comes together.
And Dylan actually is one of our photographers for weddings. So that's how we got connected with Tina, Dylan's been working with us for a few years, and we were actually doing his wedding, and Tina was his maid of honor. And she started helping out with weddings and now has been with us for over a year. So almost 2 years.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
2 years and like less than a month.
Yeah. So
quick, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So we're really excited about this tonight, everybody. We're talking about unconventional couples and how these A-list super wonderful wedding planners who do weddings here in the Tampa Bay area, you're going to talk about how they deal with those couples and give them a special day and what's different about them, perhaps. Mm-hmm. But first off, Amber, why don't you just tell everybody a little bit about your company, Simple Weddings, and what you guys do?
So this is actually our 15th year celebrating with, helping couples tie the knot here in the Tampa Bay area. My business partner, Anthony, and I are actually the second owners of the company. And this year we celebrate 10 years of ownership. So we are kind of the OGs. We've been around for a bit. And certainly in that time, we've seen the wedding industry change. And for couples, especially post-COVID, having different needs and expectations and kind of, putting a twist on what weddings look like and traditions. So, but we really do specialize in that kind of small wedding, micro wedding. We've been doing that even pre-COVID, before it was a thing. So it made kind of a natural transition. The beach house wedding concept, which translates very well to the Phantom History House, is something that we've been specialists in for 15 years. So it's just kind of a natural, transition of that relationship to such a unique property as yours.
And I want to remind people, and thank you for that. I want to remind people who are watching, if you have any questions for Tina and Amber, drop them in the chat. We will do our best to get to all of them. And also let us know where you're watching from. And hello to Tina Marie for saying hi. And we're glad you love our potion room. Excited for you to come back and do some ghost stories around the fire again.
Absolutely.
But I know you have a ton of questions for these two.
Well, I do, but we're excited because we were very hesitant to get involved in weddings. But everybody, that so many times somebody would come to Phantom History House, they would look at the way it's appointed in the space, in this big space we have out back, and they would be like, this is perfect for a wedding. We heard that over and over and over. But it wasn't until we were talking to Amber and Tina that they sort of convinced us, oh, it can be a very small wedding. You can control the number of people. You can have all these rules. And we were like, okay. All of a sudden, we could sort of see it. So, Amber, you remember that day when you guys were here and you were up on the deck overlooking our property, and you got really excited about that.
I did. But I do understand the concerns. I also do understand why a more traditional wedding planner would come in and say, oh, this space is perfect for 200 people, without thinking about the additional constraints. And because of our experience doing micro weddings and working at beach houses here in Pinellas and Manatee counties, we know how even though a property may seem large, the reality of hosting an event there adds additional strains on that property, just from basic usage of the property. And because, these are beach houses and private homes such as yours, they're not wedding venues. And so you can't take the same approach as you would to a ballroom or a community center or a golf course or country club. And a lot of wedding vendors tend to be more directed toward those types of venues without understanding the special requirements or limitations that hosting an event at a private home entail, because you're not a venue. So you have to take those things into consideration when looking at, hey, we want to have, an event here. So that's something we've always specialized in. It's your home, and it's important to respect that, and at the same time know what would a really great event look like here, and understanding that in general, those need to be small, intimate types of events.
Right. So Tina, when you were here, what did you think about us as a wedding venue, or a place for a wedding, should we say, when you came here?
Well, when Dylan originally told me about it, Dylan and I have a very tit for tat relationship. We always pick on each other. So I was just dogging him about it. I was like, it's probably just a museum. I don't know if I can get married in a museum. You have to be careful. You can't touch anything. And we came in, and I was just like completely floored. It was gorgeous. You have an amazing water feature. The yard is large, to the point that Amber was saying, where you could have easily 200 people there, but it wouldn't do justice for the home. The house itself is what is so unique about it, in addition to it being just kind of tucked away in a really nice area that is still convenient to many things. One of my favorite things was the potion room that you're in. Also seeing how much care and decor-wise, how meticulous each room is, and themes. That was just like, I was like, all right, well, I live here now. So I was absolutely blown away. I was super excited. My fiance, being a little country boy from Georgia, he was a little kind of taken aback. He's very into the occult stuff, but he's never been to anything like that. And I think maybe from Jersey and just like always being that way with like our cousins watching the Blair Witch Project and all kinds of spooky stuff, and having Halloween as my favorite thing, I was like, this is great. I felt like I was at Disney.
Well, and I appreciate you saying that. Thank you so much. And I'm glad you brought up our decor, because we are very Gothic, paranormal themed. But as we always tell everybody, we always want to be comfortable as well. So I'm glad you kind of recognize that balance there.
And that's something when I was thinking about how to write the description for the property. And it is something I think couples need to see. Any couple that's considering something kind of offbeat or unique, seeing it in person, yes, photos are great, but the care that the two of you have taken to create, yes, the theme, but in such a tasteful way. There are still fun nods, but it's very comfortable and warm and welcoming. And at the same time, you've got those little creepy, unusual elements. And it's the how you've blended that is a true representation of your abilities, and you guys should pat yourselves on the back for that.
I actually love finding little pictures of the two of you in each room. I was like, oh my God, this is like, where's Waldo? But where's Steve, Tim and Steve?
That's hilarious. Hey, everybody, thank you so much for watching. We are talking about unconventional couples and how they get married and how they how their wedding days are prepared for them, perhaps a little bit differently from a regular couple. I shouldn't say regular couple. Conventional couple, traditional couple. Where my language? I did not plan for this enough. Before we start talking about that very specifically, I do want to play a really quick video because Amber and Tina, you guys were here and we did a shoot. You set up what it would look like if we had the wedding venue here, and Steve, you were nice enough to put together a video about that day, and so you can kind of see how that went. Our wonderful neighbor who we love, Dawn, from across the street, was nice enough to put on her wedding dress and come over and stand in as the bride. So, you ready to watch?
And we appreciate her husband, Eric, letting this happen to as well.
So thank you to both of them. Because we were the stand-ins for the groom. It was really a fun day. So let's watch a little bit of that.
Yeah, just...
Okay, so that was amazing. That moment where you asked Steve to pick Dawn up and turn her, that was so hilarious. I'm so glad you enjoyed it. It added that in.
Yeah, it worked out well. I've never been so close to my neighbors, so thank you for that.
Well, that is the Disney lift, so it is something that is kind of fun to do, and you guys were great sports. Dawn was a great sport.
She was stunning. I was like, so get it.
Fun.
Yeah. Still fits in that wedding dress. I'm like, okay, that's
fantastic. Yeah, that was amazing.
Well, one of my big questions for the two of you is we keep using the term unconventional bride, unconventional groom, unconventional couples. What exactly is unconventional when it comes to the wedding industry? What does that mean and what does that encompass?
Well, it's funny that you ask that because this is something that really has kind of emerged in the last, I would say, 5 years more so. There are actual social media pages and websites that are devoted to this. A couple of magazines. There's the Offbeat Bride is one. Rock and Roll Bride is another. And it does tend to be couples who are looking for the less than traditional experience. Now, if we look at what is a traditional wedding experience, it tends to be either at a church or what's considered a more traditional venue like a country club or a ballroom or a hotel. And it tends to have certain elements in it, in the ceremony and the reception itself, different traditions that are incorporated. The other thing too is often size. Again, historically, weddings would be the one event where all the family would get together, and you would invite your aunts, cousins, uncles, brother, sister, who maybe you hadn't seen, but because it was expected and this was kind of almost like a family reunion type of scenario, you would often then see those 200, 250, 300 person weddings. That has changed, and There are a couple of reasons why that has changed, of course. Some of those are societal. COVID was a significant impactor of that. But even pre-COVID, we were seeing people looking for options to have an experience for their wedding that was more reflective of them as couples. Now, let's face it, the majority of couples who are getting married now tend to be older, already have established careers. They're not necessarily coming straight out of their parents' homes. They often already reside together and have their own home, or are at least in the process of purchasing or building that. And often couples are, if not paying solely for the wedding, they're contributing to the cost of the wedding, even if they do have help from parents. So what has happened with the wedding industry is that you do now see couples having more say and more input in what a wedding is. For some people, that is wearing a non-white dress. You know, we're seeing black dresses, blue dresses, pink dresses, things like that. It's smaller guest sizes where the people who are actually attending the event are actually involved in the couple's lives, or are, you know, part of their inner circle, actually have met the fiance, that type of scenario. And certainly much more about reflections of the couple's personalities and interests. You'll see that in things like unique cake toppers, bringing in decor elements. You know, a day that just passed, for instance, for us was May the 4th. Well, guess what? May the 4th has become a huge wedding day because so many Star Wars fans out there are incorporating May the 4th be with you and choosing that. So every year on that day, we're booked solid for weddings. And it may be a subtle nod to Star Wars, and it, you know, I've had couples that have had lightsaber exits and their dog named Yoda there. So
awesome.
Well, to add to that, we've also seen a lot more upticks in like themed weddings, so like more campy type style. I mean, for me myself, I'm doing a masquerade themed wedding, you know. So it's you're seeing a little bit more of that where people are getting more creative with it. And I think a lot of that Harry Potter, I think a lot of that reflects on to budget and inflation as well. When you're doing, and people love DIY, you know, HGTV, DIY, you could probably just randomly talk to anyone in the grocery store, just be like, hey, did you see the house that they built and this and that? People like it. They don't like to put forth the effort in it. So to create that DIY look, oftentimes you're not going to have a conventional wedding. You're going to have something that's unconventional, because that DIY, the whole reason why someone wants to do something like that is because they want to reflect themselves in it. They want something that's a little bit more creative. And that comes from pulling out of tradition and going into your own stuff, you know. We see that with a lot of different traditions, such as like Friendsgiving versus Thanksgiving, things to that extent. So we're seeing it in the wedding industry for sure.
This is really interesting. I mean, but there's something big that happened in our society, in our culture, that allowed this to happen. Because I remember when, like, it was, I remember, I mean, most of my life, weddings have been very traditional, and I just dreaded them, honestly, most of the time, because they were, all this just giant deal. So I love that people are feeling that they can have something themed, their own personality. Do you have an idea of, like, specifically how that happened? Or any ideas around that? Because that's a really big shift.
It is a big shift. And I do think a lot of it has to do with kind of, you know, if we go back to the 80s and 90s a little bit, so back to, you know, not showing my age, but, you know, there was a shift, I think, from, again, that concept of the couple who maybe met in college and still lived at home and then got married, and parents were paying for it. We saw that with, you know, some couples who were, you know, having going to college, going to grad school, things like that, you saw this kind of transition to people waiting later to get married, and that's a big part of it. So I think the fact that more people were waiting longer to get married, and truly too, I think society has become, I mean, let's face it, 50 years ago, people did not cohabit before they got married.
Right. And I like something you said earlier too about couples are looking for experiences,
Yes.
which, I love that because we call ourselves a bed and breakfast experience, which is perfect for that. And I want to say hi to Julie, who's watching from Largo, and our friend Victor's tuned in as well. And of course, Tina Marie. Remember, if any of you have any questions for Tina and Amber, please drop those into the chat, and we will get to those when we can. So whenever we first started hearing about, hey, Phantom History House would be a great place to have a wedding, I had this image in my head of like a bride looking like Winona Ryder in Beetlejuice, coming down.
Yes.
Like where my mind went. But after talking to you two, it seems so much broader than that, which has been a nice surprise. And I want to also add that not only did you envision seeing ceremonies here, but also the reception in the yard.
Yes. And yes, there are, certainly to Tina's point, yes, and you could have a Beetlejuice themed wedding, and obviously your property would be ideal for that. But at the same time, when people do look at that video that you created and the styled shoot that we did, we still brought in some unique decor items, but also, and again, the word traditional, I hate using that word, but it is kind of our fallback because it is still bridal. It is still wedding. It is still elegant. They can still have those things. And so it can be as campy as they want it to be. It can also be as classic as they want it to be. And that's, I think, the thing with, like I said, with what you have done with Phantom History House is you've blended those two things beautifully. And so I think that for the couple, when I've done bridal shows and wedding shows in the past, in the industry, like I said, just especially in the last 5 years, I've seen couples coming in saying, we're looking for something different. They don't want the average location or the usual location. And so something like Phantom History House really ticks that box because it is an experience. It is unique. Their guests will talk about it, and they'll walk around and be, oh, that is so cool. But at the same time, we can do a beautiful ceremony, a catered reception, all of those elements that form what our concept of a wedding is can be part of it, but they can add then, if they want to have a tarot card reading, maybe they want to have a psychic there as an entertainment element.
Well, we see a lot of people, not to interject on you, but even just recently we had a ceremony that was at Barefoot Beach Club. And that bride, her whole reception was more dinner party-esque. And that is totally on brand for Phantom History House. And if someone wants to do a dance floor, like my family, I mean, they're all dancers. They're going to get out there and shake their butt. Walkers or not, like they don't care. So they're going to be out there, right? So, my family, if, for instance, would want to dance and kind of do things out on the yard or whatever. But you have this lovely area where it's like you have this gorgeous landscape outside. You would never know what's inside the house outside of those really funny skeleton statues and some of the RIP, head tombstones. You go inside and the house just looks elegant and it feels like, wow, I'm in this really great Victorian type house. And then you start looking a little closer and you're like, oh, there's like some spooky things here and there's some of this here. And then it's just colorful and fun. And it's very elegant and it's kind of highbrow. And when we work with couples, untraditional or unconventional or not, typically they want something that's a little bit more elegant for their wedding, even if they're doing boho, like we had shot in the scene with all that pampas grass with Dawn with the triangles. It's more of our boho look, and that's great. They still want elegance with it, and I think Phantom History House represents a lot of that. You can have something that's like a small dinner party and just a quick elopement, or you can have something where you have 25 up to 50 guests and you're just like, hey, we're going to dance a little bit in the yard, come inside, relax, sit down and have a cocktail. You know, it opens up a lot for that. Whereas with other venues, you know, like they're limited to some things, you know, and that's where it kind of puts it apart. For our unconventional brides, they're the ones who don't want to be on the beach. They're the ones for us where we do the beach weddings, they're like, well, we would want something in like a garden, or we want something here. Well, you know, but
you have that.
You know, you're one of the ones that we could go, hey, you know, this is a great option, and you still are not far from the beach. You're still not far from.
You're in the heart
things,
of everything.
You know? And you have the option for them to stay the night, which makes it so much easier for them to relax and just kick the heels up and you know, have fun.
Talking about the reception, just to wrap up what Tina's saying and kind of what I envisioned too, we were talking about some of these different things potentially. Some of the things you already offer, like I said, the psychic reading or the tarot card reading. One of the things that I've done, you know, personally that I did for my reception is something different, is I offered an actual wine tasting at my reception. So as part of my cocktail hour, what I could see with Phantom History House is you having, because you have that fantastic potion room, being able to, for the unconventional couple, create some themed cocktails that are potion oriented. So if we've got Harry Potter fans or fans of the paranormal, those types of couples who are interested in that, that could be such an you know, unusual and fun element that they could have as part of their cocktail hour for their micro wedding there. So that's something that you have that is, again, ticking that box of unconventional. Because, I mean, look right behind you. I mean, that's a stunning backdrop. But let's take it and make a themed cocktail hour with, you know, different, you know, everybody talks about the bride and groom having, or the couple having, a signature drink. You can take that a step further.
That's true. And we get a lot of compliments on our potion wall, and we've been told it's the most Instagrammable place in the house. And I know we have a video that I don't know if you wanted to show that or not.
Yes, because we're not only looking to do weddings here, but we love all the things that come around wedding events. Like we've already had a getting ready location event here where someone had a wedding somewhere where they couldn't get ready there. So they booked the house, stayed here, got ready here. We're also talking about doing things like bridal showers or
luncheons, all that kind of stuff.
Luncheons, the whole thing. So we do have a video that explains sort of and shows some of the scenes from our first getting ready event.
Let Phantom History House be the magical backdrop for your wedding event. Our bed and breakfast is the perfect wedding day getting ready location. The entire house is at your disposal, with 4 bedrooms for getting dressed, beautiful spaces for hair and makeup, and our Victorian library for relaxing with family and friends. Spend your wedding night in one of our 4 uniquely themed sleeping chambers. And the potion room is the perfect spot for special photographs of the wedding party. Phantom History House is also the perfect location for bridal showers, bachelor and bachelorette parties, engagement parties, and bridal luncheons. Contact us to create a wedding event you won't soon forget.
Now, there's no way that narrator would lie to you. So.
That's an awesome video.
It's a great video.
Thank you. So we are excited about doing this. And listen, if you're watching this and you know anybody that's looking for an experience for their wedding, I hope that you'll think of us and have them contact us. And of course, we'll put them in touch with Tina and Amber, and we'll see if we can create a really special event.
Yeah, and I'm curious, and I don't know if you can answer this question or not, because I don't want to get into anybody's private stuff, but what is there like an experience or a wedding that stands out in your wedding planning career that you're like, wow, that one really surprised us? I mean, it was cool, it was fun, it was very different. Do you have one of those themed weddings on your brain?
Yeah, there are actually a couple, and interestingly, one was a masquerade style event. Another was a Disney themed event, but it was a Disney villain themed which actually would be really fun. It's when I think about like the kind of couple that interests and some of the other things I've seen in the industry. You mentioned Beetlejuice. Yes, that's no brainer. We talked about Harry Potter. The Mad Hatter, Alice in Wonderland. I mean, something along those lines. There's some Shakespearean themes that could work really well. A lot of
cosplay of any kind. Anime is a real big one. People love anime.
But literature themed, classic London, those kinds of things would be ideal. You showed the Victorian Library, which is, again, one of my favorite rooms at the house. And then the getting ready option that you had, the lighting in that dining room during the day is perfect for hair and makeup. And then when the evening, that's something, again, for you talked about, a rehearsal dinner in that space, the night before would be ideal because it's such a beautiful, all of the mirrors and things that you have curated to make that room spectacular. I liked the view from the outside too, so you could kind of get a feel for the lights and the candles and stuff. But yeah, I would say the dark Disney villain for me was kind of the standout wedding experience that I attended. And I did actually have to dress in character for that one. And so I was Moana, but not Moana. Sorry.
That's not a villain.
Moana is so evil.
Oh my goodness, why am I
Maleficent?
No. It's with the red curly haired Scottish girl that her mom becomes the bear. Why am I
Brave?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So we have a couple of comments, and our friend Victor's watching, and he said he can be available to do electronic voice phenomena work. He can communicate with the spirits that are here, which would be very cool.
That would be interesting. Somebody would love to do that at their wedding. There's no
Absolutely. And he has done that here and has caught some amazing EVPs.
Really?
That'd be a really cool thing for like bachelorette parties.
And Tina Marie's watching, and we've kind of talked about this, but I'm interested in your answer to this. What would be the max number of guests for a Marco wedding here at Phantom History House? How do you kind of see that?
So I am a big believer that no more than 50. I think your sweet spot is that 25 to 40 range.
I agree.
But no more than 50. And that's the case for, honestly, the majority of private homes that we work here, even along the beaches and elsewhere in Pinellas and Manatee County. And part of that is, like I said, there are just everything from parking to use of the facilities. You don't want more than 50 people, but I think 25 to 40 is the sweet spot.
Well, I totally agree. That's what I've been thinking. And I love the idea of an intimate affair. But the thing that we love to do, the thing especially I love to do, is to host a group of people for a weekend, for like a 3-day stay. Yes. They really relax. They make the house their own. They get to enjoy all the different spaces. I love the idea of doing that for a wedding party. They come in, they enjoy spending time together, do the rehearsal stuff, and then have the wedding event, and then the bride and groom can stay here on the wedding night. And I just love that idea I love hosting groups of
and it's lower stress too, because you don't have to do all the traveling.
It's all right here.
Like for those weekends.
Well, and the fact that you are a bed and breakfast, not just an Airbnb, because I think that has been, and that's a distinction to make, certainly for any unconventional couple looking, is you are hosting. So I think sometimes people forget the value of that. Mm-hmm. And to your point, just from a cost saving standpoint, having, certain meals and beverages and things like that included in their stay and what that adds to it. The fact that they don't have to go elsewhere. They don't have to drive around or travel around. You have on-site parking. There's certainly lots of things that are a benefit.
Yeah, and I love that Tina Marie mentioned a Midsummer Night's Dream theme, that would be awesome here. That is such a
Well-
good idea. We're going to write that down. So,
Yeah.
all right. Well, so we're going to start wrapping this up, but this is people interesting. I just do want to say, I've been sitting here thinking as we've been having this conversation. I mean, I've said this already, sort of, but I remember a time when not having your wedding in a church was unconventional in my mind. You know, so even like a beach wedding was unconventional. Really, not seems to me in my context, not that long ago. Not that I've paid that much attention to weddings my whole life, but you know, we've all know about them and pay attention to a certain degree. Mm-hmm. So just now, a beach wedding is not necessarily unconventional, but we could be. So anyway, I just think we're excited about it.
It's a constant evolution of the industry. It sounds like you need to have had like a front row seat.
Well, it is kind of still unconventional because we're considered a destination wedding. You know, so doing a destination wedding, it's always like a little extravagant, a little different. Majority of our clients are from out of state or from out of the country. And that's, you know, that's awesome because we're reaching, you know, a number of people, which is fantastic, getting to know people from all over. But we still offer traditional ties to it, you know, and a lot of that we usually find with our brides and grooms or even our couples, same sex or not, or non-binary. If they have something that they're more religion focused, we bring in those more traditional ties. We do that through verbiage. We do that through different ceremonies, things to that extent. But you're correct in saying like the beach weddings are unconventional. They're conventional to us in an aspect that we do them every day. But I
still get people, inevitably, this many years later, I'm still getting people, guests who say they've never been to a beach wedding. And so, you know, that does still happen. To Tina's point, we are definitely, our focus is we serve all couples, all faiths. Mm-hmm. So I'm actually, what I have to say is part of what personally loving, first of all, you guys are wonderful. You're warm, welcoming, and that's obvious. Anybody who visits and takes the time to consider Phantom History House, they're going to realize that right away. Mm-hmm. But I love it because, so I actually got into the wedding industry from the funeral industry. So I'm a chaplain and I worked in funerals and funeral homes. And so, yes, I worked with dead people.
I knew I liked you.
The paranormal element and having personal experience with some things there is interesting to me. Personally. So, but my husband jokes that my business card or my business motto should be, I can marry you and bury you.
That's awesome.
And to Victor's point, who just mentioned, he asked if we could do renewal of vow ceremonies here. Absolutely.
We do a lot of those.
But his second part of that question, I think, is not as easy to answer. Can someone make my wife change her vows? Probably not. That's not on us. You guys
we can just send like suggestions. That's about as far as it goes.
Exactly.
Well, but I think the bottom line really is you can help any kind of couple create any kind of event and experience and wedding. I think that's amazing. You know, like that's such a gift that you're making available to people, because I can imagine a couple thinking, where do we go to do this? You know, how do we find this kind of help? And that's why we were so excited to meet you guys and get connected, because we felt like, okay, you're a good fit for what we're thinking about doing here. So we're really happy with this collaboration. And again, anybody that's watching, if you know anybody that's thinking about having any kind of wedding event, we would love for you to think about us.
Yes. And if the question for you, Amber and Tina, if somebody is interested and wants to reach out and contact you, what's the best way to get a hold of either one of you?
Well, we do like something like the bat symbol, but it's like two rings in the sky.
I like it.
No. So simpleweddings.florida.com is our website. We are very active on social media as well, and certainly that's a great planning tool. So Simple Weddings, we have an Instagram and Facebook page. People are certainly welcome to contact us through that. We are local in Treasure Island. We have an office here. We're in our office right now. So, and you know, weddings are not a 9-to-5 business. So we're available evenings if people need to do consultations. But you know, people contact us a number of different ways. Give us a call, email us. To Tina's point, you know, we might see a bat signal, probably not.
But yeah, all of our contact information is on our website. And then if anyone wants it directly, they're more than welcome to contact Phantom History House. I have our emails directly if they want to speak to one of us, as well as phone numbers.
And we would be available, for instance, if people want, we love to come to the venue and meet prospective couples and talk about what would a walkthrough look like? How would we set this up? So that's part of the service that we would offer is, so we are a full service company. We can get into how we simplify the planning process with prospective couples in a consultation with them. But part of that is definitely being hands-on and working closely with you as the wedding site, the wedding venue host, and helping them create a personalized experience for their wedding.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for talking with us tonight. Everybody can go to our wedding page on phantomhistoryhouse.com and you can have a link to their site as well there. We so appreciate it. And I have to tell you guys, pay attention to social media coming up over the next few weeks because we have something special we're working on around this whole wedding stuff, and that's all we're going to say.
That's all we're going to say.
We're going to say. So, we're very excited about it. It's another sort of really super cool special thing that we're hoping to provide. So anyway, that's all I'm going to say there. That's the teaser. Watch social media. Amber and Tina, thank you so much for taking time to talk with us tonight. This was really fun.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. This has been awesome.
Thanks for having us. And we're available. We would, anytime we want to chat about some more fun wedding stuff. And we also promise that there are only gingers who work for our company.
We're very ginger heavy tonight. I like it.
We are.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much. Thank you everybody for watching. And if you enjoyed this, the recording is on our social medias and on our website. So we hope that you'll have people check it out there. Yeah. Thank you guys.
Remember, we'll be back next Wednesday with another guest. So make sure you tune in.
That's right. That's right. Thanks.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Okay, we're off the air. Hey, good job, guys. Thank you.
Because we're still live.
What?
Click end stream.
Oh.